There will be no stock buyback of Tesla shares this year because there's a key. There's a key to a fraud-free buyback, which is what we really need. I'm Brian. Welcome to my Tesla weekend. Stock buyback, man. What is it? No, I'm asking. I did not prepare for this episode. All right, maybe I did. So there's different kinds of stock buybacks, of course. You can just buy them on the open market. Maybe the company's undervalued. Maybe you look at the shares and say, wow, people are only buying my shares for $178. I'd pay more than that. Good deal. Maybe they want to distribute some of their excess cash to shareholders in a way that doesn't have many tax implications. Both of those things could be the case. There's a lot of reasons. So when you're doing it, yeah, you can just buy them on the market. You can offer to do it at a fixed price. The way we're talking about is just slowly buying some off the market. So unlike with dividends, you have scheduled dates and amounts. With open market stock buybacks, you can just buy some here and there as long as the board approves it. So what are the benefits? I mean, I assume you guys know, but the effect is to reduce the number of outstanding shares in the market, which increases the ownership stake of everyone else. If we buy back 10% of the shares, your shares and mine are worth about that much more. Alexandra explained to us in our interview a while back that you can buy them back in a way that allows you to still sell them again if you need to raise that cash. So why wouldn't you? Well, we need to hang on to our money, right? But can't we just get that money back? Yeah, maybe. So what's an example of a good buyback? Apple comes to mind. But even though Apple's been buying back an absolute metric ton, their yield is still only about 4.5%. Some years it's as high as 6.8%. That's a pretty good return on money, I guess. Not as good as it would be if you just deployed it as capital on something like building a factory, but Apple's got as much cash as they can effectively deploy, so they buy it back. And as a result, the share price has done pretty well. Other companies, not so much. Li Auto lost money on their buyback. A lot of these companies didn't really make. Microsoft, 1.6% return yield on their buybacks. Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, 2.5%, but HP Inc., 15.5%. Interesting. So buybacks, even when they work, not a guaranteed moneymaker. I don't know if you know, but Apple has spent a little bit of money. Do you know how much Apple has spent? $85 billion in repurchase just in 2021. They've spent almost $500 billion over the last decade. That's an amount of money that might as well not exist. It's not even real at those figures. That's a pile of money so large you couldn't even effectively burn it. And even still, Apple's not always doing great, but they started these buybacks when they were well south of $1 trillion market cap, and they recently got as high as $3 trillion. So it can work, man. But how much of this appreciation in stock price is because of the $500 billion in buybacks? And how much of it is because they're just a cash printing machine, which they really are. $104 billion in cash flow in its fiscal 2021. $104 billion in cash flow. That is pretty impressive. So buybacks, they're going to prop up the price. Always. Meta spent $45 billion on stock buybacks last year at 330 smackaroo bobbers a share. It's now worth $100. That's a bad return, Mark. I mean, that's like the worst thing I've seen since the metaverse. It's never gonna catch on. Maybe it will. But, boy. Meta has spent $91 billion repurchasing stock since 2017 at an average cost of $242 a share. That's some ouch, man. That didn't work. Now, what if they needed that cash? Well, they could turn around and sell it again. at a loss, at a steep, steep loss. So how would you feel if Tesla bought 10 billion in shares and then needed the cash again and could only sell it for 6 billion? I think as a shareholder, you'd be frustrated. So the question is it really the bottom of the market? And how can you tell? Now, I'm very confident in the share price right now. That's why I recently purchased more shares at about 182, maybe 184, something like that. Because I do believe that when the new numbers come out, the deliveries, the quarterly numbers, when we see semi-deliveries ramping, when we see Cybertruck coming out in force, it's going to turn around, baby. That's my firm belief. But there's more to it, I suppose. So why would it be fraud? What are we talking about? Because I know, that's a very, very tantalizing headline, which is why I've got so many viewers tuned in. So this is kind of a loose fit, but what is a stock basher? It's someone who manipulates the stock in a way that is illegal in order to manipulate the price. So they want to drive down the value. Perhaps to purchase it, perhaps to short it, whatever the reason is. It's illegal. Musk's Twitter disaster could wipe another quarter off Tesla's stock by year end, warns Morgan Stanley. Now, of course, analysts are always wrong. That's just part of the nature of the beeswax. But there's merit here. The Twitter acquisition has already cost Tesla shareholders fortune this year, but the pain won't stop there. Now, what is he doing over there? Well, it's, the objective is free speech. Yeah, free speech is more of a concept than an absolute. We've seen that. I mean, he gave Kanye free speech and then had to take it away. So free speech is more likely, probably better defined as speech I like. It's whatever speech I agree with. Because people are still being silenced on Twitter. The big objectives we saw was, he said, I'm going to buy Twitter because I'm going to clean up the bots and I'm going to monetize it in ways that are improved. And if I can do those two things, well, here we are. The bots have gone nowhere, and the monetization is on the wrong track. The $8 Twitter Blue is still only available through an iPhone. So if you're on Android or a desktop, you're not able to actually get what you want, and you're not even getting the features that you paid for because they had to roll them back because they didn't work. Are they gaining more $8 Blues than they're losing in ad revenue? It's a $13 billion loan. It's reasonable to assume they're paying 10%. 10% on that, that's like $108 million a month. You'd need over 10 million Blues a month just to cover the interest on that loan. It's tough, man. It's tough. And he's driving people away. Elton John has left. Jack White from the White Stripes has left. These aren't consequential losses by themselves, but it's frustrating and it's disappointing. The actions over at Twitter are, to some extent, overflowing onto Tesla. When Crew Dragon first launched, the rollout to the pad used Tesla Model X's. And the next day, Tesla shares were up. Shouldn't be. The fact that that vehicle was just used to drive astronauts from A to B shouldn't affect the share price, but it does. If SpaceX had a catastrophic loss tomorrow, it would affect the share price. It just overflows. And there are folks who look at some of the actions by Twitter and feel that it reflects poorly on other companies that are run by Elon Musk. Another example of some real ham-fistery.
Wow, so I am at Tesla's Gigafactory just right.
Ryan from the Kilowatts, who is as big of a Tesla bull as you're going to find, who has met Elon, who was there when the Silicon Valley Owners Club interviewed Elon, had a VIP ticket to the semi-event and was turned away at the gate. They said, "Are you Ryan Levinson?" "Yes, I am." "Out you go. Your ticket has been rescinded." So that's a real head scratcher. And he wasn't alone. You've got, let's go down here, Jessica Kirsch, who is super awesome. Sounds familiar. I wish they could have given you a reason. The hardest part about them asking me to leave was them not giving me a reason for why I was being escorted out by 3 security guards and 2 to 3 police. What? I'd read, and I don't know if it's true because I didn't confirm it, that Omar from Whole Mars catalog had also received a ticket which was retracted. I know I went to the event and did not get in, but I didn't have a ticket because Tesla doesn't have a PR department, and as best I can tell, they just don't know I exist. And I had some comments on that video saying, "But you are Tesla." Well, I appreciate that. That's very kind. So the question is, on this, is this something Tesla's doing intentionally to push down sentiment, to push down the share price in advance of a buyback? Or are you trying to tell me that their corporate governance is so entirely inept that they don't understand that this will have a consequence? I don't believe that. That doesn't sound like the Tesla I know and am invested in. So which is it? Because you're turning away... So, well, they didn't want any influencers there. What are you talking about? Why would you not want... Well, they're trying to keep, stats and stuff close to the vest. My friend, there were high hundreds, maybe thousands of people there. Nothing... No, there is no reason. Certainly not a good one. Certainly not a good... but this won't... he's still going to do coverage. Yeah, and so am I. But events like this, if these events didn't move coverage, these events wouldn't exist. That's why everyone does them. So are you driving down the share price just to do a buyback? I don't think so. I hope not. Because if he is, he's going to get sued. Whether or not the suit has merit is a different matter. But he's already been sued by Twitter investors for stock manipulation. That, of course, ultimately went nowhere. But you can sue. And if you look at the actions he's doing, pushing down the value of Tesla without even really pushing up the value of Twitter, that lawsuit could have merit. It could get expensive. Longs can sue. Professor Leo Kuguan can sue. Chicken Genius can sue. Who knows, man? So these are the reasons I hope there's no buyback. Because if there is a buyback in the next month, 2, maybe even 6, there could be a lawsuit. I hope if there is a buyback, it will be announced in advance so that the market is prepared and the possibility for malfeasance appears less certain. So we have got... Well, there it is, and there you go. If you enjoyed this, consider watching the full 30-ish minute version over on the second channel, My Tesla Live. That's where we do the live stream every Friday at 7 p.m. and a podcast with Bear from Bear's Workshop every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific. So, what did I miss or misunderstand? Leave me your thoughts, your wisdom, your juicy brilliance into the comments below, and stay tuned, stay juicy, and I simply cannot wait to hear from you clever robots on the flippity flop.